Hey y'all, if you like this Sally Stitches look, stay tuned. Hey y'all, so it's me again, and today we are doing a look from Nightmare Before Christmas because it's the week before Christmas. Oh my god, we love a thematic queen. So here she is, love her. Took me a lot of brainstorming on how to do her makeup well. On the bright side, I already have kind of big lips and kind of big eyes, so the Tim Burton aesthetic is kind of, I was hoping it would work for me, and I think it did. I felt hot, not gonna lie. Yeah, this like bodysuit was absolutely constricting, so I had to keep on taking it down. So later in the video, I'm not naked. I just took the sleeves off. These are the face paints I'm gonna use. Some like teal, some true blue, some mint, and a little bit of white. These are the eyelashes. I use these for my Spectra Vondergeist in my Monster High series. And this time it was a lot easier around. I was going to throw them away, and then, I didn't. So this time it was a lot easier using them. So we prime, and then I mixed some mint and some true blue together. Now my goal is not to match like the character per se, but to match the bodysuit that I'm wearing, which is supposed to be her skin. So that way it kind of looked cohesive. Did it happen? Not really. But it was as close as I could get without looking super weird. I did kind of like get her mixed up in my head with Victoria. No, not Victoria. Who's the girl? The Corpse Bride. I can't remember her name right now, but I got her character design mixed up because she's a lot more saturated in color than Sally is. So it is what it is. But so we're starting off with putting it on my face, but then I forgot I had to block out my eyebrows. That was part of my plan. You don't have to. I've seen people do like eyebrows that match the wig, and it looks, it looks kind of like more draggish, I guess. I don't know how to say it. It looks a little bit more human versus the character. And, that could be really beautiful too. I just wanted to do this. So went in a couple of layers with some Kimchi Chic Eyebender powder as well as a glue stick, and set that. So then I spread the face paint across my face, the more like dense face paint. I had to use the spatula and just hold it perpendicularly to your skin and drag. It's really not crazy. And then I had a softer formula that I put on top. That way it would blend out a little bit easier. And I have a whole different set of brushes that if they get stained, it's, whatever. So that's what I'm using in this video. Highly recommend if you're going to get into face paints, especially oil-based ones, get a different set of brushes. Get just like cheap ones. I don't care if they could be from the dollar store, but you are going to stain your brushes. I did have to add a lot of white back to the face, and I had to make my face a little bit more circular versus oblong. So I brought that highlight all the way up from jaw to cheek to temple versus letting it only be on my jaw. And then I blended it out with the Beauty Blender, making sure I'm really, really, really blending out those edges. That way it gives like an airbrushed feel almost. And I did add it on my ears. The reason I didn't bring that up is because I actually took it off later. Adding a little bit more of that dense white into those spots that need it. Nose, under the eyes. I'm thinking of this like underpainting, so it doesn't have to be like totally perfect and saturated. And if you kind of make yourself almost too pale, that's kind of better because you can use powder to add pigment, but it's really hard to use powder to take it away and create lightness, if that makes sense, to create highlight. At least that's what I find. So just going over everywhere. And I kept on adding this up in layers because of course it would get diluted. It's white. Making sure there's no stamp marks from my Beauty Blender from pressing. And again, just building in layers, adding more, adding more, adding more. This is me getting annoyed because I'm like, it's not light enough in person, but it was light enough almost nearly on camera. One tweak I would make if I was doing true to character is to add a little bit more of that mint versus true blue. But I wasn't going to do a full body paint It was just gonna be like neck, and that was it. And I already had no patience for that. So I'm adding white on the edges of where the neck would be, just to give a little bit of dimension and to color match to my face. And then using a makeup wipe to get those nice crisp edges where her neck would be. I did want to create an illusion neck. Did it really turn out that way? No, not particularly. But it's okay because the effort was made, and that's all that matters. And then I'm going to bake the snot out of my face, because if this gets anywhere, I'm going to lose my head. I still have, this was what, 2 days ago? I still have blue in my ears because of the fact that I didn't set it and it was harder to remove that way. So I swear, setting's so good. It makes a difference when taking off the makeup too. I feel like it breaks down easier when it's dry versus when it's wet. Getting rid of the creases on my eyes, then powdering that, powdering. And you'll see me take my finger at some points and like rub it across my skin to see how dry it is. Or if it needs more powder. Beyond that, I took this time while it was drying and setting to get the stuff off my lips and then add a little bit of a red liner around the edge, following kind of close to her shape. She has a very, it's reminiscent of the 20s. 20s lip, where it was like thinner and not as rounded out, we'll say, as like a 40s or 50s lip. I don't know a lot about the 30s because I just never studied up on that, but I was kind of drawing upon that, where like the top lip was a little thinner and the bottom lip had it wasn't as flat as my natural lip is on the bottom. So I had to kind of create a peak for the bottom lip to come to. Just look at a reference photo, do your best. I don't know what to say. And then this is just the eyeshadow palette process. I used it as contour and as blush as well. So I'm creating the shadows in the depth, starting off with just a medium blue, I'll say. It's not dark and it's not really light. And I'm just creating any shadow that I see on her face on mine. So like her nose comes to a perfect tip, so I did that. Her cupid's bow, had to blend it out. I always have a dense brush and then a fluffy brush so I can blend out any harsh edges or any oopsies that I make. I find that to be rather helpful. So this palette has like a medium, a light, and a dark blue. And then I'll work with black later. So this is me just using the true blue and saturating it completely. And then I was mixing it with the dark blue just to get a little bit more of a transition going, especially with my eyes. I was like, how on earth am I going to do this? So I just kind of followed my brow bone down to my crease. And I coming at it from a bottom angle. So you'll see my hand is down near my chin and I'm pointing the brush up. And that creates a natural placement for the brush to go into with my eye socket. So my bone structure is working with me, not against me. And then there was a white eyeshadow in there that I wanted to test too, and it was kind of kaka-poo-poo as far as a highlighter goes, so I only used it on my eyes. And then she does have like a white space, or I created a white space for the illusion of a bigger eyeball, and then I left a light space underneath of her skin tone. But beyond that, I did focus on creating a hollowed out eye look. Even though hers protrude, I think in real life, in 4D, it would probably be sunken in. This is when I was like, I look like that girl from Corpse Bride. Like, I look like the Corpse Bride, rather. And it was starting to really mess with my head. It came together in the end, though, I will say. So then just taking a big fluffy brush and using a couple of those eyeshadows and contouring my forehead to make it more round. My jawline, I had to really focus on that angle where my jaw tilts up because I have an oblong face again. So this would make it look more circular. And then I did have another brush that had white eyeshadow just to kind of really create a lot of contrast, as much as I could actually. Me looking at reference photos just to make sure I'm on the right track. That's what you guys don't see. I usually cut that out of a lot of my videos. It's me going back and forth and looking and trying to find different angles of different things if I have questions. And then I had a white jumbo crayon from, I think, NYC or NYX. I can't remember. But I was using that to create the bigger eye illusion in my case. A little bit triggering. I had thyroid problems that made my eyes bulge back in high school. So this was like, why on earth am I wanting to look like that again? I had this for free at one point, but it is what it is. So this me putting some white eyeshadow just to kind of set that crayon eyeliner, and then as well as create that light space underneath the eyes. And then taking the white shimmer that was in the palette. If you have any questions on the products I use, feel free to ask below. I'm more than happy to go get them and look at them and, you know, type them in for you. But I don't label anything anymore just because it was kind of annoying, kind of a waste of my time, I felt. So if you got questions, feel free to ask. I'm more than happy to answer. So this is me taking the dark blue in the palette and adding it to the areas that really had a harsh shadow. So under the nose and mostly under the inner corner eyebrows, I suppose. Inner eyebrows. And then I did take a black paint stick and just used it straight up to create the edges of her neck. Neck I'm not exactly proud of. I had more planned, but I was running thin on patience. So I had 2 espressos right before doing this, and I was like shaking while I was trying to do stuff. So my patience was like, girl, let's go to bed. Even though I had espresso, I stayed up still. And then just following some reference photos that I found, I gave up on what side of the face I should be doing scars and stitches and, you know, details for characters on, because it doesn't translate the same on camera because it's a mirror. So I never know. I just kind of like say, frick it and move on. So connecting to my mouth, they were giving like a marionette vibe. So I did use it as like a lip liner, almost like an extension of my lips versus a line coming to my lip corner. So I made it a little bit thicker. I hope that makes sense. And then just following her stitch pattern, just using an eyeliner brush, or an eyeliner, I should say. This is a She Glam. I highly recommend it. It has a jumbo end and a felt tip end that's actually a bunch of little bristles. I love it. Taking the back of a brush that I have, I just dip it into a pot of gel eyeliner, and that's how I create the little stitch holes that I'll be working with. And then I do twist it, like you'll see me kind of turn it as I press down, as I punch down. This way it's a full coverage, more full coverage, and you get the entire circle, the entire circumference. Otherwise, if you pick up after one little stamp, it might have some bald spots. Do some tests on your, like the back of your hand. That's what I was doing. And then I was using this eyeliner, realizing that this eyeliner was dying. I've had it for a year, so I just ordered more. It's my favorite. I'm so sad. And I was getting a little annoyed with it because it wasn't exactly working the way I wanted it to, but it was doing, you know, part of the job, I suppose. So I got a different one that's thicker, but it's not my favorite, so whatever. And then the edges of my neck were kind of yucky from the powder puff. So I just took a brush and kind of blended it in and made it look like it was just, you know, the neck receding. And then just to make it cohesive, I took some of that black eyeshadow, or a black eyeshadow, so again, it looked more cohesive onto my jawline. Oh my gosh. And then we're not going to talk about the neck. This turned out like caca-poo-poo. So just ignore it. And plus it was right in the crease of where I bend my neck. So it like transferred, which was interesting. I don't have a very long neck. I'm looking at this and I'm like, girl, you got no neck. Time to get Botox. No. Using that bigger eyeliner, like I said, just to create the rest of the shapes and whatnot. You see me try to do the little circles with this, and it just wasn't working out. Like, it was taking so much longer. And it wasn't even very good circles. So I took the back of that brush again and just bop, boop, beep, boop, bop. My traps are so high up. Oh, well, this is also shot from an upper angle. That would probably affect it too, yeah. Sorry, don't mind me having a mild crisis about my neck. I would say this was the most tedious part. And then I take this the matte lashes, white eyeliner, and I took a little paddle brush, like an itty bitty little paddle brush. That was just about the width that I wanted. If you're scared, use like a lip brush, lipstick brush or whatever. But I wetted it down with some MAC Fix-It, right? And then there was like a perfect consistency in there where it was kind of liquidy, but a little bit more tacky than that. And then I just followed the shape of each stitch, making sure you get it into that black hole. That way it gives the illusion of depth. That's very important. Otherwise, you just wasted your time, kind of, because it just looks like you put white on a line versus highlighting a stitch. See, you see how it looks? It looked fresh. So the thing with this eyeliner is it does dry down a little bit more gray. It oxidizes a little darker, so you just kind of got to keep building it and building it and building it to a point that you like. Bless me. Sorry. I would pause and cut that out, but I'm far too lazy right now. So again, yep, going over stitches again and again, kind of just getting to that point that you're happy. And if you have a crossover stitch, make sure you do the bottom one first and then go over the top stitch, whatever one you want to be on top. That way you don't have to like work around it. And that way you also, it looks like a top versus bottom stitch versus an X. You saw me do my little happy dance, so it's like, oh, this is turning out good. And then I did take the same eyeliner and I used it as a cut crease on my eyes. Just, again, because her eyes are so huge. I was like, oh, this could be a nice touch. So just putting that on. I did cry half of it off trying to put on contacts later. Which I'm realizing my eyes kind of just look very similar to the contacts I ended up putting on. But I tried putting on these white ones that had no pupil, but they stung so bad. I have to look into that. I think I need to change out the solution that they're sitting in. And then taking that medium and dark blue mix of eyeshadow to create a smoky eye on the very edge, but only on the back half. And don't taper it like across the lash line. You want it to give the illusion of a very bulgy eye. So after I traced out that first shape, going with a little bit more of a pigmented texture, I suppose. Like, you know how you get like the really watery texture in your gel liners or your potted liners? You get the really like thick one where it has barely any water. This is like the right in between. So you just kind of feel it out. If you're an artist, you get what I'm saying. But if you're not, maybe you don't. Just trial and error. Trial and error. And then taking some white eyeshadow and just stamping that on just to make it pop more because it was drying down again. And then this is the doe eye, the puppy dog eye eyeliner, where it followed my natural eye versus going up. I went down, but then flicked up at the very end. So it wasn't completely downturned, but it definitely exaggerated the eye look that I wanted. And then I traced right underneath the white eyeliner that we put down earlier, underneath the eye from the jumbo pencil, just right underneath it. And for me, it was because she's a cartoon character, like that's fine. Usually I would just smudge it out. And then at the very peak of your eye, if you're looking straight, you're going to follow like where your pupil is. If you're looking straight on, that part of your eyelid, you want to kind of flick up almost, create like a little hump. That way it really widens the eyes, but it also exaggerates the downturned. And then taking some dark blue underneath that black. My eye was watering so much in that corner. This is almost reminiscent of like 60s makeup if it wasn't downturned. They always had that, not always, but like Sophia Loren, she always had a gap between her eyeliner and her waterline. And it opened up the eye a lot. And then it took me like 20 minutes to get these stupid eyelashes on because I did it on the top. But it was so much easier than doing them on the bottom. That's what took so long. I was trying to glue them underneath my eyelashes like I normally do, but they're so heavy they just kept on falling off. So, put them on top like you would. Just put glue all over the eyeliner that we had applied, or that I had applied, and then stuck those bad boys on. It worked out really well. So, gonna put on my finishing touches. Ta-da! This is a dark blue, or a dark red Maybelline lip crayon, jumbo crayon. And then, yeah, so this is the vibe. This is the look. So yeah, the neck and the face and the body, they almost match on camera, but in real life they certainly did not. So I'm still pretty happy with it. I felt really hot, not gonna lie. I like went downstairs and I showed my boyfriend, I'm like, someone needs to appreciate this in real life real quick. So bye-bye. And these are the unedited photos of the look on my Samsung camera. You guys always get the raw photos. So you can see I didn't do my hands. Later in post, I added that. And like I said, I feel hot. I looked really good. So if you like this, please comment, like, and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Kate_escapism. Bye.